morning, Kinaway members, and welcome to today's episode of Kinaway TV. I'd like to acknowledge the Bundjalung people as the traditional owners of the land on which I'm coming to you all from. I'd like to also acknowledge the traditional owners of the land in which each and every one of us are tuning in from, and pay respects to elders past, present and emerging. I'd like to also extend that respect to other Indigenous peoples who are present here this morning. Before we kick today's webinar off, I'd like to take a brief moment to remind our viewers of the support services currently available for Kinaway members. The first support package on offer, which is in collaboration with Kinaway member Claystone Marketing, is free access to Claystone's social media and marketing course. The course provides an overview of social media marketing strategies and tools, which helps highlight marketing opportunities for Indigenous businesses. It's a great resource and is really helpful to businesses looking to solidify their online presence. In another collaborative effort, Kinaway is excited to partner with Boost Legal Templates. Designed for small businesses, Boost Legal Templates gives you clarity, safety and access to real quality legal templates. Just complete the friendly questionnaire and you will instantly receive your own legal template, which you can take pride in knowing it has been created specifically for your business. Kinaway is proud to offer members a 25% discount across all Boost Legal Templates. So if you feel this is something you may be interested in, please contact the Kinaway team. Another support service I'd like to mention is the confidential phone crisis line for Victorian Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people, launched by the Victorian Aboriginal Health Service. The service is for Indigenous people and families who feel they may need to have a yarn with someone about their wellbeing. This 1-800 helpline is a statewide social and emotional wellbeing service. The helpline, whose number is 1-800 95 9563, operates 7 days a week from 12 p.m. to 10 p.m. And you'll find their contact information on the screen throughout today's webinar. And finally, there are plenty of Kinaway TV webinars on professional and business development available on our Facebook and YouTube channels. So please feel free to jump on at any stage and make yourself familiar with the content. We are also holding webinars throughout the month of October in conjunction with Indigenous Business Month. So keep an eye out for those as we host panel discussions specific to the Indigenous Business Month build, invigorate and maintain themes. Along with the webinars and support packages mentioned, Kinaway is still offering the usual forms of support for our members. So if you feel you may need any assistance or support of any kind, please feel free to get in contact with the team here at Kinaway. For this morning's webinar, we're excited to welcome Julie Hines and Peter O'Brien from Melbourne Water as they present on some of the key understandings needed to contract with big businesses such as Melbourne Water. Julie currently holds the position of Procurement Strategy and Governance Specialist at Melbourne Water. She's a procurement professional with over 15 years experience, having worked across a range of industries including mining, beverages, gaming, retail, confectionery, downstream oil and gas and energy. Julie has worked in the water industry for 3 years in the area of strategic procurement. Passionate about social procurement and supplier diversity, Julie is driven to investigate opportunities to incorporate diversity within the Melbourne Water supply chain. Joining Julie to present this morning, we have Peter O'Brien. Peter was born and raised in country Victoria before moving to Melbourne for his tertiary studies. Peter is now married with 4 children and is a contract manager in wholesale services at Melbourne Water. Peter is responsible for the management of contracts for lab services, chemical procurement, security patrols, after hours system monitoring and other operational contracts. He joined the Melbourne Metropolitan Board of Works in 1988 and has many roles in the water industry to this present day. Peter is passionate to learn more about and work with Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander businesses to seek opportunities into the future. Today's tendering procurement webinar presented by Julie and Peter will be covering topics such as the range of contracted activity across the entire Melbourne Water operations stream, including strategic contracts and panel arrangements, how they engage with suppliers, the role of procurement, Melbourne Water priorities and how they identify opportunities in the supply chain to deliver social outcomes, what are the expectations of a buyer, and presenting on case studies of social procurement in action. We hope you enjoy this morning's webinar. If you have any questions, please post them in the comments section of either the Kinaway Facebook or YouTube channels, as I'll be joining Julie and Peter to address them after their presentation. Without taking up too much more time, I'd like to welcome Julie and Peter to present this morning's webinar. And for those viewing, please don't forget to leave a like and comment on today's webinar. Thank you.
Thanks for the introduction, James, and thanks very much for the invitation to come and present today. Peter and I are grateful for the opportunity to be part of Indigenous Business Month. I'd like to begin by acknowledging the traditional custodians of the land upon which we meet today, and I pay my respects to elders past, present and emerging. I'd like to extend that respect to Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people watching this presentation this morning. It's been a really long and winding road in Victoria with coronavirus, so I just wanted to take a moment to say I hope that people are doing okay. The purpose of our presentation today, it's twofold. Firstly, we'd like to provide an overview of Melbourne Water. Who are we? What do we do? Who do we work with? And secondly, just to share a bit around how Melbourne Water is seeking to increase supply diversity and shared value through procurement. So in terms of the flow of our presentation today, Peter O'Brien was going to step us through a bit of a Melbourne Water 101. That'll give you a sense of the size and scope of the business and the operating area. Given Peter's 32 years in the water industry, he's well positioned to talk you through the business. We're going to share a short video. It's just 3 minutes. It speaks to the Melbourne Water vision, which is enhancing life and livability. Peter's going to outline a range of contracted services that we have at Melbourne Water, from strategic contracts, looking at around 15 panel arrangements that we have in place. Excuse me. And he'll also do a bit of a deep dive into the area that he manages, which is wholesale services. We're going to look at how we engage with suppliers and what's important to us, and share a couple of case studies of social procurement in action, and outline our next steps. But if you have any questions, you know, some of this subject matter you may be very familiar with, or it may be new to you, but whatever the question, that's absolutely fine. Please send them through to James Brown or Scott McCartney of Kinaway, and we'll get back to you if we have a chance today. That's great. If not, we'll certainly get back to you after this presentation. So thanks very much, and over to you, Peter.
Thank you, Julie. Firstly, I'd like to respect and honour Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander elders, past, present and future. And I acknowledge the stories, traditions and living cultures of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples on this land, and also commit to building a brighter future together. So just a bit about Melbourne Water. So, sorry, I'll just get rid of that screen. Okay, so Melbourne Water is a Victorian government-owned statutory authority. We're working on behalf of the community to deliver high-quality water supply, sewage treatment, drainage, recycled water, and management of healthy waterways. Melbourne Water's vision is to enhance life and livability. Our core pillars are healthy people, healthy places, and healthy environment. So just a bit of overview of what Melbourne Water is responsible for, and you know, don't quote me on these figures, but this is what we've got at the moment. So we manage water reservoirs. So we've got 10 major storage reservoirs and 37 service reservoirs. So the major storage reservoirs are things like Thompson, Sylvan, Cardinia reservoirs, and the smaller 37 service tanks that we've got are those tanks that you might see as you travel around the countryside, the big steel tanks that you see on some of our sites. So they hold water as well. We store up to 1,800 billion litres of water in those tanks and storage reservoirs, and we deliver over 400 billion litres to customers and community per year via our retailers. We've got 2 major sewage treatment plants at Eastern Treatment Plant at Carrum and Western Treatment Plant at Werribee. So they treat all of the sewage basically from the city and the suburbs around Melbourne. We've got 400 kilometres of sewers and 8 sewage pump stations. So over a year, we treat and take away 320 billion litres of sewage. With rivers and creeks, there's 24,000 kilometres of those that we look after, 1,488 kilometres of drains. and 490 waterway treatment systems and wetlands. So quite a big, diverse series of assets that we look after. So just to give you a bit of a perspective of the area that we cover. So this map shows our licensed area. So from the west, we go all the way down to Little River, not quite to Geelong, but we go to Little River. And in the east, we head out way out past the Thompson and down south, down past Phillip Island and those areas down there. So this map here basically shows the water supply system. So as I mentioned earlier, we've got 7 major storage reservoirs, the Thompson being the furthest east, as you can see on the map there, and that transfers water into Upper Yarra Dam, and then to the smaller dams and then into the service reservoirs. So the blue shaded areas that you can see there are actual catchment areas. So that's where the water is captured and then drains into those major storage reservoirs and then transferred into the smaller service areas. As part of the overall system, Melbourne Water captures, treats and delivers this water to our retailers. So you'd know of the 3 major retailers: City West Water, Yarra Valley Water and Southeast Water. So they're the ones obviously you get your water bills from to your houses. So they actually look after the water from those service reservoirs and into your meter and into your house. So that's where the delineation is for water supply. So the sewage system, obviously the reverse of the water. This is where the water comes out of the houses. So the retailers look after the water, the sewage from your house. That gets transferred into larger distribution mains, and then Melbourne Water takes it away to treat. So there's, as I mentioned earlier, there's the 2 major sewage treatment plants: Western Treatment Plant at Werribee and Eastern Treatment Plant at Curram. And just looking at the Western Treatment Plant, for example, the size of the area that's covered there, where we have major lagoons that hold the sewage and basically dries it out, and then it's taken away as biosolids for reuse options. So that area there shown orange is the Western Treatment Plant area. It's actually similar in size to Phillip Island. So just gives you a bit of perspective of the size of the area that plant looks after. And with the waterways and drainage system, so that covers basically all of our licensed areas. So there's major rivers and drainage creeks and things like that the drainage system looks after. So we'd just like to show you, as Julie mentioned, a 3-minute video just about Melbourne Water. Just gives a bit more overview of what we do. So if we can just play that now, and then we'll come back and go
For
through.
For more than 125 years, Melbourne Water has made a vital contribution to Greater Melbourne's famous lifestyle. Future challenges for our city are complex. Long-term climate change means less predictability, and an estimated population of 8 million by 2051 will only place a greater demand on our services. At Melbourne Water, we don't work alone. We collaborate with a wide range of partners that are aligned with our values to deliver all that we do. Led by community expectations, we strive to continuously innovate our proven technologies and improve the services we deliver to ensure maximum value while keeping prices as low as possible. We are responsible for the capture, storage and treatment of some of the highest quality drinking water in the world, supplying it to the city's water retailers who deliver this water to homes and businesses.
Within Melbourne Water, we end up getting around 50,000 samples across 160 different sites. So we're always innovating to make sure that we meet the strict water quality guidelines that we're given. It really is some of the best and most affordable water in the world.
Our sewerage system is vital to Melbourne's health, safely transporting the majority of Greater Melbourne sewage to our 2 treatment plants at Werribee in the west and Bangholme in the east.
Here at our Western Treatment Plant, we treat over half of Greater Melbourne sewage. As part of the process, we also produce recycled water, which is sold to customers for agriculture use or your local parks and gardens. We also have on site one of Australia's favourite wetlands for birdwatchers, which receives visitors not only from Australia but all over the world.
As the floodplain manager for the Greater Melbourne region, We help to reduce the risk of floods through our integrated drainage and flood management services. Rivers, estuaries and wetlands are central to everyday life, sustaining a complex ecosystem of plants, animals and people. We protect and improve our waterways for the benefit of the community now and into the future.
Many people don't realise that Melbourne Water manages 25,000 kilometres of waterways. Today we're collecting water samples to look for platypus DNA. The fact that we're even finding them in this waterway is a great indicator of waterway health.
Through initiatives like hydroelectric and solar power generation, capturing biogas to produce electricity and driving electric vehicles, we are leading the way by planning for our operations to be carbon neutral by 2030. In all that we do, we strive to balance the natural and built environments and make the most of all the infrastructure and assets that we look after. We are helping to build a more water-sensitive city, one where we use water more efficiently and sustainably. Guided by our vision of creating healthy people, healthy places and a healthy environment, our passionate team of experts help make Greater Melbourne a fantastic place to live. Melbourne Water, enhancing life and livability.
Okay, hopefully everybody got a little bit out of that, and that video is also available on Melbourne Water's website. So if you want to see it again, then feel free to go there. So I'd just like to now take you through a couple of the areas that I look after, and Melbourne Water has, you know, a lot of these services that are used across the water supply, sewage and drainage network that we need contracted services to provide for. So just the three areas that we have are strategic type contracts. We've got panel arrangements, and then there's also operational contracts that is pretty much my area that I look after. So just a bit of an overview of the strategic contracts. We've got a maintenance and low risk capital contract that basically looks after all of our mechanical and electrical areas for pump stations and valving and those sorts of areas that we need maintenance for. So that's probably one of our major contracts that we have. We've got IT managed services. Obviously, we have a lot of digital information that we collect and use to operate our systems. So there's a lot of IT services that we need, and capital frameworks. So with building of pump stations and treatment plants, there's obviously a lot of capital investment required there. So there's quite a few strategic contracts around the capital framework. On a probably a slightly smaller scale, we have panel arrangements. So we have panel arrangements at the moment for recruitment agency services, minor field services, graphic design, revegetation plants and material supply, community engagement and communication, dam and headworks, economic advisory, engineering services and specialist services, legal services, occupational hygiene and also technical services. So as you can imagine, with the area that we cover and the amount of assets that we need to maintain and keep running, there's quite a deal of panel arrangements that we need, and also in the area of drainage and waterways, we need to keep our creeks and rivers in good condition. So there's a lot of panel arrangements used to provide services to maintain those assets. So wholesale services contracts, these are the ones that I look after. I look after some lab sampling and testing contracts, waste management for, as I mentioned earlier, for biosolid reuse options, and basically looking to reduce our waste as a target going forward. Chemical supplies, so you can imagine quite a lot of water and sewage that we treat requires chemicals. So we need to make sure we have the right chemicals supplied by suppliers that are meeting the needs of the water quality standards that are required from a government perspective. So we have quite a strict regime of contracts across the chemical suppliers. Asset security, as I mentioned, with the vast amount of sites that we need to manage, we need to also make sure they're secure from a supply point of view, but also from a public safety point of view. We need to make sure people aren't getting in and harming themselves, getting on top of buildings and things like that. So we need to make sure that they're secure. So across operational areas, there's quite a few contracts that I look after, and hopefully we can provide some opportunities for some of the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander businesses to get an idea of what we look after there and see how we can find opportunities going forward for those businesses. So I'll just hand back to Julie now to just go through the supplier engagement component and give you a bit more information there. So over to you, Julie.
Thanks a lot, Peter. So as you can see, Melbourne Water provides, or procures, I should say, a wide range of goods and services, anything from technical and engineering services all the way through to like stationery, PPE, personal protective equipment. So procurement, it's a strategic function, but I'm really pleased to say it's evolved quite a lot over time. I mean, back in the 90s, we were all about cheapest price as procurement people. We'd sort of hammer our supplier down on giving us that cheapest price, a quick win, if you like. Very, very short-term focused. But moving forward, we've into the 2000s. We're looking at sustainability and how that's absolutely linked to value, and progressing through to the 2010s, social value being a really important piece in how we define value. It's not just a financial consideration. There are many non-financial aspects to what is valued, what is value, I should say. So as a Victorian-owned organisation, we aim to ensure our purchases represent value for money and that they're sourced fairly and ethically. So we seek to work with suppliers who understand and share our core values, which are care, courage and integrity, as well as a commitment to our high standards for safety, for the environment. We're also a signatory to the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. We're about promoting reconciliation, supporting gender equality, and responding to the societal problem of domestic violence. So we've developed a supplier code of practice, and I think we're going to pop in the chat box. It's available on our website. It's a document that was kind of put together in collaboration with the water retailers across the water industry, and it really it seeks to articulate like what's important to us, and it seeks to promote diversity in our supply chain. So you might be thinking, well, how do I find out about upcoming tenders at Melbourne Water, or how do I go about engaging with us? So the open tenders are advertised on the Victorian Government tender system, the Buying for Victoria supplier portal, which was formerly the Tenders Vic site. So please do, a link will be provided. Go in and have a bit of a look. This is a central place for all suppliers to register interest in supplying to the Victorian Government. Thanks, Peter. We're at so onto the Victoria's social procurement framework. Sorry, Peter, one slide back, but that's okay. So the social procurement framework, thank you. It was launched by the Victorian Government in September 2018. And the purpose is to build a fair, inclusive and sustainable Victoria through procurement. So essentially it sets out 10 social and sustainable procurement objectives, and it covers a really broad range of issues: women's equality, safety, disability inclusion, reconciliation, climate change policy, and the list goes on. There are 7 social procurement objectives and 3 sustainable procurement objectives. So we're sort of recognising that it's not practical or realistic to try and cover off on all 10 at once. So Melbourne Water, what we've done is we've prioritised our efforts and decided to focus on what best aligns with our strategic direction, and that is opportunities for Victorian and Aboriginal Torres Strait Islander people. That's our priority objective, and it also supports the commitments that we've made in our reconciliation action plan. So we've developed a Melbourne Water social procurement strategy, and that strategy, it really kind of sets out what we need to do to drive change. So we need to look at many aspects of our business, from leadership and governance, our people and culture. So lots of technology and tools that we're looking at to drive this social and sustainable changes, as well as what we can do in our area, which is sourcing and contract management. So in terms of Melbourne Water buyer expectations, like what's important to us as a procurement group who are sort of influencing some of our buying decisions, well, our people are aware of the value supplier diversity brings to the table. There's quite a bit of training in terms of cultural awareness. There's learnings from our reconciliation action plan working group, where we get advice from people like Nova Peris and Reese Collins, who are our Aboriginal engagement advisors. We're linked in with Kinaway. We're a platinum member, and we seek to work with Scott and his team to understand about new businesses that are coming on board with Kinaway. I understand that there have been around 90 new members come on board during the COVID period, so that's great. We would want to hear more about these businesses and how we can work together to create shared value. Next slide. Thanks, Peter. So in terms of social procurement opportunities, we've got sort of two broad approaches to social procurement. The first being a direct approach, and that's essentially purchasing directly goods and services and construction works from Victorian, Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander businesses. And the second approach is indirect, and that's essentially looking at using the tendering process and clauses in contracts with the private sector to seek outcomes for Victorian Aboriginal people by suppliers to the Victorian government. And Melbourne Water's planning to use both approaches. We are absolutely open to looking at opportunity across our entire supply chain. That's where the from cupcakes to construction piece comes in. So it's all spend. It's not just the big end of town. It's absolutely every spend opportunity within our supply chain. The idea here is that even small changes in the way we approach procurement, they can really make a big difference in the lives of Victorians. So to date, we've engaged with Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander businesses for a broad range of goods and services. So we've got graphic design, civil construction, catering, natural resource management, stationery and office furniture, and we're really looking to expand on this. Thanks, Peter. So we're at the next slide, which is the I just want to present a couple of case studies to you today. So there are two, and the first is an example of social procurement in action. Following a robust procurement process, the Melbourne Water, Waterways and Land Delivery Group recently awarded a contract to traditional owners, the traditional owner organisation Wurundjeri, Wurrung, Narrap Rangers. So the Narrap team, which you'll see pictured on the slide there, they work in natural resource management, which is the integrated management of natural resources, making our natural landscapes, including land, water, soil, plants and animals. The Narrap Rangers team, they will deliver minor field services. So that's part of the minor field services panel arrangement that Peter spoke to earlier. And they will provide those services to Melbourne Water at culturally sensitive sites using traditional work methods. So this is an excellent collaboration which will help drive social, economic, as well as cultural change. And the next slide, please, Peter. So here we have the Wara Wurrung Indigenous Civil Construction Project. So Wara Wurrung, meaning come walk the path, civil construction training program. It's 100% Aboriginal owned. And it's a business that focuses on employment opportunities for young Indigenous people in the water industry. The purpose is to build capacity and capability and create meaningful jobs with a longer term focus that will benefit future generations. The Wara Wurrung Indigenous Civil Construction Project, it was made possible through a partnership with Melbourne Water and Aqua Metro Services. Aqua Metro Services are a key service provider to Melbourne Water under the small scale capital project contract. In the picture, you'll see Leon Egan, he's at the centre with members of his team, along with Soyan Punudasa and Marcus Wade of Aqua Metro Services. And I have been told that in an upcoming presentation, Leon and Soyan will present on their exciting business venture. So, so stay tuned. Over to you, Peter.
Julie. So yeah, so quite a really good insight into what we look after, what we do, and a couple of points there that there's no one size fits all approach to social procurement. So we need to recognise the diversity and yeah, just the broad range of aspects of social procurement that is out there now. That it's not just compliance with what the government says we've got to do. Melbourne Water's committed. We want to do this. We want to make sure that we're addressing all areas of diversity across the whole supply chain area. So so relationship building is key to doing that. You know, the fact that we're doing this presentation today, we want to open ourselves up and make it known to businesses across all of Melbourne and Victoria, what Melbourne Water does, and the fact that we're so open to getting new businesses in, and just addressing those elements of social procurement, and just looking for opportunities. What else can we do, sort of thing. So we want to work closely with Kinaway to understand members' needs. So this is particularly important in what we want to get across today. We understand that there are challenges and barriers that need to be overcome, but to understand those, we need to know what they are. So from the membership, what we want you guys to come back to us with, to tell us what those challenges are. Ask us questions of, how do you do your tendering? How do I lodge this form? How do I fill this out? Come to us and ask us so that we know what the challenges are, and then we can provide that information to you. So we're very, very open to helping, looking for those opportunities, as I mentioned. So open the conversation and open the supply chain. So think differently, challenge traditional approaches. As Julie said, 20, 30 years ago, it was all about get that cheapest price, and that was it. We satisfied management. Well, we don't do it that way anymore. The last thing that we assess when we're doing a tender is the price. We go through, we check that people are doing the things safely. We make sure that they're looking after the environment and looking after their people. Then when we're satisfied with that, then we have a look at their prices, and then that's where we may come down to the commercial side of things, but that's always at the end. We want to work together to deliver and to create jobs and that shared value, as Julie mentioned. So that's pretty much it for the presentation. We just wanted to get ourselves out there. You've heard of Melbourne Water, but if you really didn't know too much about what we do and what we cover, hopefully we've provided a bit more of that now. But yeah, the real takeaway from today is, We want to understand what your challenges are. Let us know what it is that makes it harder for your businesses to get in, and let's see if we can open some doors and get that going. So I might hand back to James now to take to field some questions for us, and yeah, we're happy to answer some questions the next 5 or 10 minutes or so.
There we go. Should be unmuted now. Just on behalf of Kinaway and Kinaway's members, anyone who tuned in this morning, I just want to thank you both for joining us. We did have a few questions that have come through, so we might spend the next few minutes addressing a few of those. The first one comes from Blackie Jones, and this refers to another comment that we had throughout the presentation, and it essentially asks, without matched experience or better pricing, how can Aboriginal businesses demonstrate some of the other required values, and what are they to aid them in being successful with the tender? I'll send that one to you, Julie.
So, sorry, let me just read that without...
I might just jump in first, if you don't mind, Julie. So,
Sure.
as I mentioned before, so what we're looking for is, as I mentioned, price and cost is the last thing that we look at. So we want to understand that businesses have got the capability and they're addressing safety and environment as a priority. So with social procurement being more and more evident now, we want to sit down and talk to people about where they're at with their social procurement, and we'll do that assessment. And if they're lacking in some areas, then we'll work with them to get them up to speed. So whether they win or lose the tender on that particular case, it's not a just cut and dried thing. If they don't win it, we want to work with them to say, well, we need to add this, or you need to work a bit more in this area. So it's not just win or lose, see you later. It's we want to work with you. So so we can't really define exactly, from this question, what particular things do we need to do. Let's have a look at your submission and then assess it against what the job is that we need, and then we can work on where that lacking or where that value needs to be added going forward.
Absolutely. Julie, is there anything you'd like to add to that? Or
sorry, I think I need some glasses. I couldn't read the question on the bottom of the screen there. Absolutely. Look, I think it's each experience is going to be unique. Like there's not one sort of set of rules that apply to all suppliers. We need to ensure that businesses are playing to their strengths, and that Melbourne Water would really want to embrace those aspects of uniqueness or different ways of looking at what value is to be brought to the table, not just from a very short-term now perspective, but moving forward for in a meaningful employment sense, moving forward for creating social change through generations. I mean, we do take a long-term approach. Social procurement's a little bit of a sort of we're on the beginning of the journey, for want of a better word. It's kind of a new path that we're treading. So it's not well defined and mechanical in you have to do A, B, C in order to progress to the next gate. It's certainly not like that. I think it's sort of case by case basis, and as I said, if suppliers should play to their strengths. I think that would be a really good approach.
Wonderful. Thanks, Peter. Julie, we have another comment from Blackie Jones, and he says, thank you. Post-tender analysis is extremely valuable.
Absolutely. And I mean, it's the feedback that kind of helps you better understand your own business, I would say, and how to integrate with other businesses as well. So we're always trying to improve our tender processes and our approach. We realise at Melbourne Water that parts of it need to go through a bit of a simplification process. Like some of it's a little bit some parts could be confusing or what have you. So we're really working internally on how we can better put our requirements to the market and get better engagement and get better a broader, more diverse range of applicants, it's only going to make our business our better and stronger, and the shared value. Everyone kind of benefits from a different approach.
Absolutely. Thanks, Julie. Let's have another question. This one comes from Dylan, and he says, "Can you tell us a little about the expectations of a buyer?" Julie, I'll let you have this.
Yeah, sure. So in terms of expectations, I think I touched on earlier in the presentation that it's not all about price, and it's not a strictly financial consideration. And I know Peter talked through that as well. We are absolutely about understanding a broad range of categories for the responses that we get from our suppliers. So the expectation is to build diversity and to benefit from diversity.
Absolutely. Peter, is there anything else you'd like to add?
Not really. As I mentioned earlier about the pricing part of it, we do that last. So and I really think the post tender analysis is key. We might have one job to do, but there might be 20 applicants. So if you only pick that one and not talk to the rest, we're losing value there. We don't know what the other 19 applicants can offer and what they can do differently to the others. So we need to have that post-tender analysis, which is really key, I think. And just understanding the more the businesses can put into their applications about what they do and what else they can do. So what other shared value that they can add to the tender, that's really key to it, I think. And as I said earlier, the more we hear from these businesses about what they can offer but also what the challenges are, so how can we help to show you more about what we can offer, then let us know.
And definitely from an innovation point of view, like we're really open to different ways of working and innovative ideas. Or I have watched some of the earlier webinars where some of the Kinaway members have shown an amazing adaptability at this time to change their business models to deal with the coronavirus crisis. So we're seeing there's no greater need for the ability to pivot or change or be innovative than the moment, and I think that's a really great quality or something that Melbourne Water would really want to embrace is different ways of thinking, innovative approaches.
Sure, thank you. This next one is from Negara Orange, and they ask, is your latest wrap 2016 to 2017 your most recent one, I believe the question was.
Thank you for that. And I did see Isaac sent me a note in the chat box as we were going through the presentation. I'll need to send that through separately. So apologies, I don't have a link at the moment, but let me look into it for you. Thanks for the question.
Sure. No worries. The next one comes from Jackson, and he asks, can you tell us from experience the benefits of genuine and sustainable investment in Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander businesses? Peter, I'll let you take this one.
I'll probably flick this one back to Julie because Julie's got the experience already with some of the businesses that we've already engaged, like in the Waterways area. So maybe you could answer that one, Julie, please.
Yeah, sure. So look, we're really wanting to support diverse and to ensure that Melbourne Water is a diverse and inclusive organisation, and that is preserving Indigenous cultures. We want to provide meaningful employment that's opportunities that are with a longer term focus. So they're not just quick, short, someone do a quick assignment and off you go. It's more a longer term plan of engagement, and that kind of idea of positivity and growth builds on positivity and growth. So it's like a longer term strategy. Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, thanks, Julie, and thanks, Peter. I believe that is it for the questions that we received this morning. If there's any further questions that we do receive after this presentation, as it will be available to view after being broadcast live, we'll be sure to pass them through to either yourself, Julie, or yourself, Peter. So just on behalf of Kinaway and our members, we just want to thank you both for joining us today.
Thanks, James.
Thank you. Thanks for the opportunity.
Yeah.
It was our pleasure. And we just want to thank the audience as well for anyone that might have tuned in for this morning's webinar. Just a reminder to keep an eye out for any upcoming Kinaway TV webinars, along with the panel discussions Kinaway are currently presenting in conjunction with the Indigenous Business Month. We all hope you enjoyed today's video and found some useful information throughout. If you haven't already, please leave a like, subscribe, and turn on the notifications to receive future Kinaway TV updates. We hope you have a great Friday, and we also hope you have a great weekend.